The weird thing is, now I'm exactly where I want to be. I got my dream job at Cornell, and I'm still just thinking about my old pals. Only now they're the ones I made here. I wish there was a way to know you're in the good old days before you've actually left them.
When do you know you're in the good old days? Is it early childhood? The freedom you had as a kid, where you could dream of the infinite possibilities you could? Or maybe high school memories, a time of many firsts, or even university, or maybe even beyond that. It's hard to tell because you can only say those memories are part of the good old days when you're already out of them. You would never really know during these times. Hell, you could be living in the good old days as we speak. Before Your Eyes is a game that came out a little while ago, during 2021 to be exact, but has recently caught my eyes because I got recommended Moist Critical's video of the saddest game he's played, along with others with the same experiences. If you haven't, I advise you to go check out this game. However, it is a short game with not many gameplay elements, that is basically an interactive story. So if that doesn't suit your cup of tea, then stick with me. If you already played, then awesome. Anyways, Before Your Eyes is a game about living our main character's life, Benjamin Bryn, and reliving their most memorable moments in life, using this blinking mechanic with a webcam, in which you blinking can affect the game's progression, but not really a sense of choice in the character's actions, but rather what you are able to view. See, in this game, there are moments where blinking will thrust you forward into the future. That could be seconds ahead of what was just happening to years in the future, and you don't know what that'll be. This is the main gameplay element of the game. There is an option to play without a webcam and just use left click to act as you blink, but it definitely is not the same experience. I'll get back to this in a bit. In the beginning, we're met with Legoshi. Nah, I'm just playing. This is a random ferryman that just caught our soul from this ocean. He explains that in that tall ass skyscraper over there is this magnificent city that we can get into. Only and only if the life story you tell her is grand. And if your life wasn't that grand, well, you know what happens. So here we go. We start looking into the memories of the soul we preoccupy in this game, Benjamin. One of the cool things about the art direction of this game is that the whole scene is usually never shown in these memories. Only parts and pieces of it that are essential to the memory are seen, representing the parts that are vividly memorized and parts of the scenery that Benjamin can call back to. I feel like this is a really cool way of visualizing memories, and I think it simulates memories way better than the normal hazy vision flashbacks usually do. I've never really thought about remembering things in a visual manner because, well, they kind of just pop up in your head. However, when you recall a memory, you only have a good idea of the bits and pieces of it. The location you're at, the people that made a significant impression at the time, and even the feelings you harbored during them. That's what made them memorable. But the little details are mainly lost in translation, as in the grand scheme of things, they really didn't matter. The NPCs around you, the details in the background, or whatever was behind you are elements that you won't have a necessarily vivid visualization of. It's fragmented and incomplete, just like how the game pictures memories to the player. And obviously, it's just a good game design element because it allows them to direct the player's focus on the elements that matter to the story. If we were given a full set all the time, then people could hyper-focus on less important aspects of the story and can kind of derail them from it. Just like when you're doing a puzzle in a game and you just get so lost, so you start to become so desperate where you think anything is related to the puzzle now.
What the fuck is it jammed on? Don't even look like it's jammed on shit. What is this jammed on? I don't get it. I don't get it.
By the way, check out Alex's channel. He does a lot of videos like these playing horror game stuff. So if you like that, go check him out. Okay, let's get back to Benjamin's life. We start with early child. Oh fuck. Oh. Blinking is an involuntary action, and this game takes advantage of that. Many times throughout this game, I would accidentally blink from my body's instinct and miss a scene, or blink too early and never get to see what fully transpired. It could have vital context for later scenes, or it could just have nothing else happening. You don't know which one it is, and you will never know until you sit through it fully. And that's part of the game's charm. The fact that many people will at least go through this interaction at least once while playing the game makes each playthrough unique in that sense, as people will miss different scenes when they accidentally blink, and others will blink after a couple seconds of silence when there could be more after it. To me, this whole blinking mechanic serves as a metaphor for the fleeting nature of memories. with every accidental blink in the game representing a time when something you were enjoying just snaps. And now you're back to doing daily boring tasks, realizing, damn, I'd rather be doing that than anything right now. And in the same vein, because of this, there are many times throughout this game where you don't want a memory to end, and you don't want a scene to just flash by. And so you sit there, eyes wide open, making sure not to blink, to goof off and look at the stars, or just hear what stuff your parents are trying to say to you. This is how the main gimmick of this game utilizes blinking in its storytelling. Without the use of a webcam to track your blinking, I could honestly see the story not being as dynamic because you can always just voluntarily left click into the next scene whenever you want to. Those accidental blinks are a big part of this game and what makes it so special. So without that experience, it's just not the same game at all. Alright, I've gone off a tangent for too long now. Let's continue. We start off as a child, doing normal child things like playing with toys, drawing things, well, trying to at least. Playing with a pet, like the stray cat our dad found. Your mom is terribly allergic to them, but she thugs it out just to make you happy. It isn't until you start playing things on the piano that you, or should I say your parents, realize that you have a knack for the piano. A genius for it even. Your mom has some experience with the piano as a composer, but due to interpretation, we can figure out that she couldn't pursue it enough as a career and had to settle with being an accountant. With her guidance, you could go into an esteemed music school and become successful off your playing. You had the potential. It was then that your life was dedicated to the piano, juggling such with piano practices, like deciding whether to sneak out to have some fun and jeopardizing your sleep before going to this audition. I know there are some people that can somewhat relate to this learning an instrument growing up stuff, but for me, I can only really sympathize through the stories I've heard similar to this. My view on our mother is honestly pretty mixed. She has both positive and negative qualities that I like and dislike. She has moments of warmth and support towards us, but also exerts a lot of pressure for us to excel, especially on the piano. She is strict and has high expectations, and sometimes that can weigh people down a lot more than you expect. Having to always meet a certain quota can be unhealthy in a sense, and be quite taxing mentally. However, I do get where she is coming from. It's from a place of love and care, wishing only for the success for her son, but it can still be a little overbearing. Depending on your view of the story, you can choose how it is represented. Did you despise the piano and all the stress and work you were put through to achieve your mother's dreams? Or was it a blessing that you were able to do what many dream of doing? To be a genius at something. Hell, the piano at that. But in the end, no matter what, some things just aren't meant to be, and you never get into that music school. I didn't choose the sneak out option, but I'm sure you fluke out during the audition anyways. I can only speak for the get some sleep before the audition option, as even though you do this, you get the song played pretty well, at least from what I saw, and it doesn't seem like anything too bad happened. It looked like you had a good shot at making it into the school. But even though you worked so damn hard, it was still not enough. For the rejection letter I was given was just heartbreaking.
Why are you being silent, Ben? What's it say?
Don't pressure him.
I almost felt like I began to regret my past decisions, thinking, I got rejected anyways. Why didn't I go sneak out in the first place? All that heart beating practice, day in and day out, just for it all to come crumbling down. And to make matters worse, you're sick as well. Shit just sucks for our main character right now. Hopefully it's nothing too bad, but as you recover from this bedridden sickness, you start to draw and paint. Paint a lot. When you get stuck in your room all day, it only makes sense you need to do something to keep yourself busy. And piano is at the window for us, as we shouldn't be leaving our room it seems. So, painting it is. And now we're learning how to paint from an instructor. Damn, we're moving kinda fast. It seems through this recovering sickness that we found another passion hidden behind the piano. And it seems like it's something our MC wants to pursue as a career as well. And you know, it's not smooth sailing as we would like it to be. Going through the broke artist life, trying to get yourself out there to get a decent enough contract, and finally getting that big breakthrough. Even though the deal seems kinda shady, but it's alright because after all this struggle, it's finally something to show for. And now we're even well off enough to take our mom out to a nice fancy dinner. It seems like all this hard work is paying off.
I'm just calling to inform you that I went to the doctor today, and well, I'm gonna be a little sick for a while, but really, I don't want you worrying about it at all. You're at such an important moment in your career, and I'm just so proud of you. This is nothing but a little bump in the road for me. I'm going to be fine. Okay?
But that's enough from me. Now, you'll hear from the person who I believe...
You know, when things start looking good for us, there's always got to be something to balance it out. As much as our mom did pressure us to perform well on the piano, she wanted the best for us still. And it's hard not to feel the weight of this situation, since this was the biggest shatter we've gone through so far. Putting our career on pause, just trying to deject the situation we're in. But scrummaging through her old belongings, we find her compositions. They were beautiful. They've always been. These were the ones that you played, the one that you've been listening to this whole time. These pieces would have been big if only given the spotlight. And with this, you create a beautiful piece to commemorate the work and use your name and art to get the compositions out there. You pick yourself back up and act on the potential you had as an artist. And now you have a whole exhibit of the works you created. Yes, you, the amazing art pieces you created in this game. And most importantly, the piece of your mother's work. With this, we finally accomplished both of our goals. To be recognized as an amazing artist and to give the rightful recognition our mother deserved. And finally, at the end, you meet your long lost neighbor. The one you lost contact with when you originally got stuck in your room. And you finally connect together, ending your memories off on a happy ending. Now, we're back to the fairy adventure, and hope your story is grand enough to get into the city. I mean, it should be, right? You became a world-renowned painter. That's pretty exciting.
On his career mounting, he stalled himself into bankruptcy, which turned out to be a blessing, for it wasn't until he returned home to the house he grew up in that he began work on what would ultimately be considered his masterpiece. I said shut up, you scumballs! You lucky fowls! I should probably tell you, those things, they're not regular gulls. They're lyre birds. They're what becomes of souls who tried to lie to the gatekeeper.
You lied? Your story was a lie? Was it fabricated? Was it all a lie? And as you re-go through the memories once again, you slowly start to realize, right, I forgot about this.
School for a while, just until this nasty thing clears. Hey El, would you mind taking a quick walk with me down to my office?
I don't know why, but for some reason, this brushed by me, and I didn't really think back on it. He was sick, like clinically sick, and it was only implied that he got better, but for the amount of importance they put on these scenes, it should have been addressed more. And now I realize why. He never lived his life we thought he did after this moment. He made his story of the great life he never got to live because this was his deathbed and he was going to die. Now we start to relive the life that we never got to see. We start to see some recontextualization of scenes that were never shown to us before. The reasons for his actions, like this scene, where the kittens dying was more than just a shock for him, but rather a hint to him, making him want to play the piano more for his mom because just living wasn't enough to live up to their expectations. And of course, the life he lived when he was sick. Now stuck in his own room, not able to do anything, can't play the piano, can't see any of his friends, feeling like he was worthless because he was stuck on his bed without accomplishing anything throughout his life. What has he actually done since he was brought to this planet? He dedicated his craft towards the piano for basically all of his life, putting hours and hours into it, even when he didn't want to. In the morning, at night, in his sleep, always pressured to maintain tempo, trying to execute pieces with precision and accuracy. And even though he went through all of that, he couldn't even accomplish anything. He never really had a goal in mind when playing the piano, just getting better, until he started to attempt to get into that prestigious music school. This was it. This was his big breakthrough, to separate himself from just being a piano player to something more. And he could even reach greater heights after going here. But as we all know, the music school rejected Benjamin. What was it all for, when the only huge goal he ever really had was crushed right in front of him? Oh, what a grand life he lived. The worst Bryn to live. There's no definitive answer to what this red blob is, nor do we necessarily know what type of sickness affects Benjamin. However, the way I see it, the red blob serves as a reminder to remind not only the player, but Benjamin too, that the inevitable is coming. It signifies Benjamin's pain, almost this physical manifestation of his sickness that the player ends up feeling as well. It's uncomfortable, loud, annoying, and you just want it to go away. However, this drug is not a miracle. It's not a fix for all type of medicine, and you know that. With each button press and every time that drug is administered, you know you get slower and slower. The mouse movement becomes increasingly harder to move every time the pain builds. It just gets worse and worse. It's suffocating, overbearing. It's too much. This was the life of Benjamin Bryn, at least his view on it. When finally talking to the gatekeeper, we hear both the ferryman and Benjamin's mother speaking about Benjamin's life. How he believed that he didn't live a fulfilling life, and so made up a story about a grand life that he wanted to live. But in reality, he already lived his own grand life. He just didn't realize it until now. There was one prominent scene in the game that really struck out to me, and that was when Benjamin started playing the piano for his mother.
Keep playing, B. She's listening.
Benjamin struggled greatly with the feelings of inadequacy, that what he did was never really enough to live a grand life, and that the playing he did was never enough for his mother. He wasn't able to make it into the music school he worked so hard to get into, and it always felt like it was never enough. However, this scene illustrates perfectly what his mother's story of Benjamin's life meant. Even when Benjamin's parents felt lost and things were going so wrong for them, mustering up all his strength to play this piece was admiring for them. It's a soothing melody, one filled with memories and nostalgia, a piece his mom composed, and the very first piece he learned. And seeing that being played by their son is a special moment that they will never forget. No matter what Benjamin thought of himself, his life was grand in and of itself, and that it forever impacted his parents. It's ironic being that Benjamin's mom and the piano were some of the main contributing factors that led to his feelings of insufficiency in life, but it was also the same mother and piano that gave meaning to his struggle. He accomplished many things in life, but one of them was simply being present in the lives of his loved ones. Because no matter what happened, even if he had fallen many times, he was a rock in their lives, whether a lover to an ordinary neighbor or a son to an ordinary family. Before Your Eyes is a game about life as much as it is a game about death. From the start, we believe that an amazing life consists of being some sort of superstar, a D1 athlete, a scientist that concocted something grand, or some amazing artist that is recognized worldwide. But it doesn't have to be that. Living a grand life is not necessarily about achieving fame or fortune, but rather living your life authentically and meaningfully. The game encourages players to reflect on what it means to live a fulfilling life, one that aligns with the choices you make to your values and aspirations. The definition of a grand life can vary from person to person, and for some, it might even mean to achieve that dream of becoming an artist or a musician. But for others, it can just mean to find love, or building meaningful connections with others, or simply finding happiness and being content with everyday moments. Let me ask you again, when do you think we are in the good old days, the days we look back on and think fondly of these memories? Well, honestly, I still really can't tell you. I don't even know myself. A big part of that feeling stems from nostalgia and viewing past memories from rose-tinted glasses, remembering only the good parts, but neglecting the struggles you may have faced at that time. Looking back on your childhood, thinking how you had no responsibilities, and it seemed like the possibilities were endless with so much time in your hands. However, maybe at the time, you were worried about a test you had in school, or having to present in front of a class for the first time. All things that in hindsight seem very trivial or silly, but at the time, they were our worst worries, the struggles we had as a kid that balanced out the fun we had. The same thing can be said about any time period of your life, and even now. You may look back on these days and remember these memories fondly, and will ignore the struggles we face because they may seem trivial in the future, or we would rather not think about them. But like Andy said, you will never really know when you're in the good old days until you look back at them. And for this reason, it's why it's so important to enjoy these moments even more, because the struggles of today make up who you are and the character you are. Before Your Eyes teaches the player to appreciate the present moment and the people around them. Like the first time you play and experience the game, you take that extra time to keep your eyes open to seep in the moment more. It encapsulates perfectly the message to appreciate the beauty and complexity of life, to embrace both the joys and the sorrows of existence, and to live each day with purpose and intention.
Why is he smiling like that?
It must be somewhere that he likes.